Let's in here.
Let's go.
And I am all set here. I am all set everywhere. I waited to crack a beer. I got freaking bad news today. I realized that my dog is not going to be a boat dog.
Oh no!
It
was like half the reason.
He was like, oh, I'm I meant to take him out, and I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it today. I'm just gonna take him out on the boat today. And he was like, he gets pretty anxious, even like in the car. Like, it's a little stupid, but this was hear how he's hoarse. That was after I got him off the water. I'm like,
really?
Bro, seriously? Yeah, I was like, we were out there for like 25 minutes, and I was like, I had the Bimini top up, so like he could get some shade. I was like, maybe he's like fucking baking in the sun, you know? I'm like, all right, cool. We've been out here for 20 minutes, whatever. Just how we doing, Pat? Oh, Steve, we got Pat in the house. We got Roadkill Nick. We got Joe. One of the things that we got to talk about, and not on the show necessarily, is Taylor's event up at St. Lawrence.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
I definitely want to talk that. You think you're gonna make it, Josh, to that?
I'm coming straight from Lake Murray in South Carolina to there.
Perfect.
I don't know. Like, I want to talk with Taylor and see if what he wants Jigs and Bigs to do as far as playing a role with it. Like, if he's doing something and he wants, to have me like MC the weigh in, or, if there's an event and he wants us to do a live like show recording or something, we could definitely do that. But Nick Deshane and I were tossing around the idea of moving some stuff potentially and making it that weekend. And just doing this whole thing up there. And we're like, maybe we should. I think Cayuga is the best move for what we want to do as far as, fuckery.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you think you want to make your way up there, let's fucking let's plan a call with Taylor and kind of see what
I think it'd be cool.
he'd like from us. You know what I mean?
My new setup, I can go live anywhere too, so we can get some.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh. All right, sweet. Let's go ahead and do it. Well, everything is all set here. So what I'm going to do is
that's different.
What the fuck is that?
What's that?
What is this? I thought it was going to be another sour, and it wasn't.
Oh,
Trailblazer.
Just double check this.
What is it? An IPA?
Yeah. It's good. It just wasn't. I wasn't expecting it. Meg just handed it to me, and I wasn't paying attention.
Oh. Let's see.
Got Meg a second.
Oh, tonight after we're done, I am recording with the guys on The Catch.
Oh, awesome.
No way.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm recording with the guys on The Catch. They're like, oh, yeah. They're like, are you available Sunday at 10? And I'm like, yeah, it's right after I'm done recording. Hey, what's up, kiddo? Oh, okay. I heard you come in. All right, I'm going to go ahead and record this. We'll record podcast number 1. And then, man, we got a bunch of fucking people in here already. 15 of you. Nice. All right, we're going to go get started here recording the podcast, folks. I'm going to mute you guys so I can go ahead and play this little bit of audio to start it. We got a call on the hotline, and we'll go ahead and we'll let this rip. All right, we got 3, 2.
Hey, guys. Mike here, or as the listeners know me as, Binya. Wanted to call in because I found out that one of the competitors in the tournament I competed in this weekend, Brody, is 12 years old. And he kicked my butt, and I wanted to be the first to come on here and say, congratulations, young man. You earned it, and I hope you take that money and go buy some more fishing gear, because you really do show exactly what young kids should be doing. You're not in front of a screen, you're out catching fish, and it's just awesome. So congratulations, Brody. You deserve this win, buddy.
All righty, guys. Jigs Jigs and freaking Bigs. Another great week. Yeah, you heard it there from Binya. He spilled the beans a little bit early. Congratulations to Brody. He won the Derb. How did it all play out? You'll find out later in the show, though. It was a wild day. We had anglers from Massachusetts to California competing for an amazing slot tournament, nationwide bass tournament on Fishing Chaos. We got all kinds of good stuff to tell you guys about there. There's a little bit of an announcement here for Jigs and Bigs, but we got information on the boat, real, actual information on the boat. We'll talk about that. We're joined this week by Josh Codier again. He's becoming a regular face around here. We like that. And we got some good stuff to talk about. Some really good info for you in just a tip. We also have some great stuff in Gear of the Week. We're going to be discussing our rod arsenals, our selections. What's it look like from the angle of the competitive angler versus the weekend warrior? What do you need to know? And where do technique-specific rods kind of come into play? Anyway, guys, we got a great show lined up. You don't want to miss it. Go ahead, grab yourself something cold to enjoy. It is a hot one out there. We'll see you guys in a bit. More Jigs and Bigs right after this. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah, here we are. Man, what an amazing show. What an amazing week entirely. And specifically, what an amazing weekend. Now, I'll tell you guys, I'll give you a little bit of a heads up. My weekend went to shit. But it seemed like everybody else that was involved with Jigs and Bigs type shit who had a great time. And for that, for that, I'm here for it. I think that's awesome. Josh, welcome back. It's good to have you back on. Joe, of course, it's great to have you on this fine program that we have here. Oh, gentlemen, how are your weeks? Decent?
Yeah, actually, for once, really good, man.
Not bad. Why don't we start actually with you, Josh, because you can give some feedback. Last week, Joe talked about a lot about the trip, at St. Lawrence and how that all went over there. You may have a little bit of a different take on it. Why don't we start there and go through your week? What was up for fishy shit?
Well, if we cycle all the way back till Wednesday when we got up there, like 5, found some fish shallow, and then it just kind of dissipated. Me and Joe had to kind of run around, and it was just it was kind of psychotic, neurotic. They're definitely, I think, already farther along than people think, but at the same time, I feel like we caught a lot of pre-spawners. So
talk about the lake.
Man.
Talk about the lake.
Oh my god, yeah, dude. It wasn't even that bad, and ripping the freaking my 34 off the front and stuff, and it's just dude, it's if you got
that's
anything,
right. I forgot about that. Yeah, that sucks.
If it's plastic, it's broken now, and that's our economy, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was. We're rolling in there. There's 3-4 footers. He's like, no, this is from the current, dude. It's gonna chill out.
Yeah.
We get 5 miles out. He's like, it's not chilling out. We need to
5 miles into a 14-mile run, and I was like,
second guessing it immediately.
It took 5 miles.
5 miles. All right. Yeah, that's
Joe went home that day, but I went out Saturday for a few hours, and I ran back to Barton's Cove. And I had no business being on the lake that day. I ran out to the islands. I launched in Henderson Bay, ran out to the islands, and kind of pulled up my phone when I got out there. And then that was that giant storm that swept through that Saturday.
Yeah.
So I saw it coming across Lake Ontario, and I jumped inshore, then jumped in my boat, and I raced that whole way home, only to get to Barton's Cove and watch one of the wheels on my trailer go flying through the intersection.
Yeah, I know that section of Route 2. I've seen, and that's there's never, for that part of the state, there's never a time where it's just quiet there. There's always traffic.
The first person I talked to jumps out of their car, and they're like, he's like, if you give me $500 right now, I'll go get you parts. And I was like, I might just shoot you, so get away.
What the fuck? What is this? Let's make a deal? You asshole.
Yeah. The price is right.
So you ended up going, didn't you go out with Chris from eBay that morning?
Yeah, we went out later that night, and it's actually sick because we slid it back into this marina he had, and we just flipped jigs and fish frogs, and I ended up catching a couple smallmouth over 4 back there too.
No shit.
Slop on the dogs, yeah. But they're back there, but that water's getting lower and lower by the day, man.
Yeah, you could see the watermarks on the rocks. It seemed like it was like 3-4 feet down.
No shit.
Yeah, it was kind of wild. But
I think it's a funky year though, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's a very funky year for like everybody. Everybody in the Northeast, at least, I think, can agree. Like this has just been a roller coaster ride. You know.
Yeah.
Between storms, fronts, like I don't know. I don't really know that we've seen like the rain that we did last year, especially like levels were crazy last year. Freaking Vermont was underwater, you know, and this year I don't know if it's as bad, but
actually last year when they got that up on Lake Champlain in Vermont, we had to go save our buddy's boat and like house and stuff like up off of Champlain when I was up there for Reynolds. Everything was just going down quick.
I have a friend who has a rental up there, and his entire, I mean, he had to like do insurance and shit 'cause his entire house just got all flooded out and fucked up.
That's freaking bananas, dude.
Yeah. Shit. But so funny story is I fuck, what day did I leave, Josh? Did I leave Friday or Saturday?
It was Friday.
I thought it was Friday.
So I left Friday. We went out for a little bit Thursday evening, had a couple drinks, some food. Josh met up with like Taylor and I and a couple other guys from Fish or Die. And so I go back to the room and cause I was like, Josh and I were like, yeah, dude, we're gonna hit the lake pretty early. I was like, perfect. And then like I get home and stuff, like talking to Meg, I was like, you know what, I'm probably gonna jet like early tomorrow morning and kind of skip the fishing. But I get up that morning, I text him, I get nothing. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. I look over across in his room and dude, his like door's still cracked. His key's still in the door. I was like, oh, he went and got rad last night. That's why he's not answering. I didn't hear from him until like fucking 2:00.
Damn. Damn.
That's when we were going frog fishing in a marina.
Fair enough, man. Jeez.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. What about your week, Joe? Did you do any fishy shit?
Dude, the only fishy shit so we'll talk a little bit of something. So, we'll talk about the boat saga a little bit. So the boat saga sounds like it's going to be clearing up soon, finally, maybe. Okay. I got on the phone with Skeeter myself and with the people at, where my boat is.
Yeah.
So it looks like they have pinpointed what was going on with the electrical stuff, and it should be fixed hopefully in the next week or so. But
okay, that's good.
In the meantime, I have committed to a new boat. I'm not gonna say anything brand type. It's not a Skeeter, I will say that. Okay. But yeah, as it gets closer and I can actually like grab the Skeeter and go trade it in, I'll we'll talk.
That's awesome. Nice. Yeah, man. That's exciting, man. Good for you, dude.
Yeah. So basically, it was just time, but terrible financial decision as always. That's kind of what I do.
It's what Jigs and Bigs does.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, as far as fishing, the only fishing I did was Emma, my 5-year-old daughter, was like, will you take me fishing? And I was like, yeah.
I've been waiting for this phrase for years.
Yep. So, I did, the bobber and the worm job with her. She caught a bunch of bluegill. She loved it. And I tossed out, I was just tossing out like, there's a couple spots that had some pads, tossed out a frog, caught a couple,
nice.
They're not very big at this place we went to. And then threw out a bladed jig a few times, caught one or two. So just a bank send for a couple hours. That's kind of all I did. I was going to fish yesterday from the bank. I know we talked about it. We talked about it on the show. And then you know what I realized?
You don't have your catch board.
My catch board is in the fucking boat.
I thought about that. I was like, I got up that morning and I was like, fuck, Joe never entered. What's going on? And it made sense. That did cross my mind. I was like, I'll bet you his catch board is in the boat.
So I usually have it right over here behind me on the shelf up there. And I looked, I was like, oh my God, I had it in the boat. And so, yeah. Didn't even think of it.
Still better than finding out after you entered, because that would have sucked.
Oh yeah.
Although I
Yeah.
could have got you mine because I was fishing with my buddy Paul,
Yeah.
and I don't know why, but he brought his catch carbonite with him.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it actually worked out great. In fact, he left it in my truck, and popped it in one of the storage. I'm giving too much info about the boat, but I popped it in there because I'm like, he's not doing any tournaments in his kayak. If we're doing anything, it's in the Lund. So it was freaking wild. So let's talk boat before we talk about the slot tournament. The slot tournament is unbelievable, but let's talk boat. So this was the week, ladies and gentlemen. This was the week where it happened. I had gotten on Friday, I had gotten an email, and I had about all the serial numbers and everything to give to my insurance company to handle all that. Monday, we made it happen. I signed on the dotted line on Monday. Once I got all the insurance and everything, and then it was just waiting on registration and stuff and all that. And then I got the call. I actually texted Matt over at Hanks Marine, and I had asked him. I asked him. I was like, "Hey, so when is a good day?" And he was like, "I'm actually headed out to the registry right now." He's like, He's like, "Why don't we meet up Friday at 9 a.m." It's like, it sounds like a plan, dude. So I made the drive out. Picked up the boat. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I'm stoked. I took a few pictures and I posted some as teasers and stuff. I did put together an entire video that I'll be dropping on the Jigs and Bigs YouTube channel this week. It's got some foot. I just used my phone for this the first day. So I pick up the boat and I was like, I know I have to break in the outboard. I know that. And I'm like, let's go to a spot that's, I can just kind of have some space and open it up. So I went to a spot actually near you, Joe. And I chose a ramp that's probably one of the biggest pains in the asses to load.
Couldn't believe it when you told me.
Yeah. And it was no problem whatsoever. Launched the boat. Everything's cool. I actually met up with Gravy over there.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, we'll fish. I was like, I don't know if I have the boat or not. I said, if I don't, I'll be there on my kayak. And then when I found out that it was Friday, I texted him and I said, listen, man, I'm picking up the boat at 9. I was like, you go fish, do your thing, and I'll just meet up with you. He was putting them in the boat. He was catching them. No trout though. I know he was looking for a trout for the scavenger hunt. So I went to I launched the boat and I gave it a few rips, up and down the lake, and just kind of stretched the legs and everything, varying my speed like they say on the Mercury website to for break-in rules and instructions and everything, and got the boat up on plane a little bit. It was pretty cool. It's not a fast boat, that is for sure. Everything I had been reading up on this was like, this is not a fast boat, but if that's not an issue for you, then you have no problem. It's a lot like my 4Runner. It's very capable, but it's not fast. It's very capable, but not fast. So I had no issues loading it back up. Left that day. I caught a bunch of fish. I wish I had my catch board because I only brought minimal stuff with me. And my catch board was actually in my kayak. And not even thinking about it, I caught 2 white perch that would have counted for the scavenger hunt. I caught a good sized largemouth too, like probably a 16. And then a bunch of pickerel. I mean, it was pretty good. The first species in the boat was a yellow perch, tiny one. And it was all good. So it was nice to get some slime on the floor. That was fun. Finished, breaking in. I did about 2 hours, I think, in total of time with the outboard, just kind of like doing laps and stuff. I go and I do all my shit, and I head back. I get back to the house, and I'm driving back to the house, and I get a phone call from my dad. He is so fucking excited, dude, about this boat. He was like, hey, when do you think you're going to be back with the boat? And I was like, probably like about 3:15. I actually got stuck in traffic coming back, and it was more like 3:40. So he was like, yeah, I'm leaving West Hampton now. He goes, I'll swing by. And so I messaged him. He's like, I'm going to go grab a beer at the Legion. I'll come by afterwards. No bullshit. He was sitting in his car having a sandwich as I pulled up. Like he was waiting for my ass. He grin ear to ear. He's like, oh, that is so awesome. We're going to have such a good time. And we are absolutely going to have a great time. The storage in this boat is absolutely fantastic. I think it checks every one of the boxes that I kind of need. In the video, I give a little bit more of an explanation. So let's talk Saturday. Like, Friday I had gone out, I caught some, put them in the boat. Everything is good. I got some of that footage that'll be going on the Jigs and Bigs YouTube channel on the video that's going to drop later this week. I decide I'm going to go, and I'm talking to my buddy Paul, and I said, look, dude, actually, I should back up a little bit. My wife was supposed to be the first one to go out in the boat with me. Like, she and I were talking about this earlier in the week, and once she knew it was going to be Friday, she was like, maybe you should go and do this like on your own to like, it's going to be, you've never launched a boat before, by yourself and, all this other shit. Maybe you should work out the kinks before I go, because you'll be stressed out and that's going to make me stressed out and blah, 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 blah. It was so smooth, but whatever. So we have plans actually to go later this week, because I don't know why. She's a school nurse. She has the entire summer off. She scheduled herself for like 3 doubles at her old freaking job. So she's working like 36 hours in 3 days. What is wrong with you?
Just gotta help pay for that new boat.
Yeah, well, yeah, like I'm ever gonna see $1 of that. Jesus Christ. She goes and I told her, I was like, well, what about next week? I go, you want to go out on the 4th? I was like, because I got that whole day and I'm gonna send it on the 4th. With, I'm sure, every moron in a wreck boat that's out there. And then on the 5th, I think that's when her and I are gonna go out. So it'll be a good time. So my buddy and I, Paul, I tell him, I go, listen, man, Saturday, I go, I'm in the slot tournament. I'm like, it's like 4th priority to me. Like, I'm just going to go and fish just to get the mechanics of the boat. I'm in it, whatever, just like the scavenger hunt. It would be nice to catch some bass and throw them in there, but I'm not overly concerned. I want to figure some shit out. So I wasn't going to talk about this on the show, but here's the deal. I stopped to get gas on the way over. This is how my day started. We're beaming. We leave and we're like, holy shit, this is amazing. I stopped to get gas and I park a little bit too close to the pump. And I had to reposition the trailer to get around that corner. And in doing so, I was paying attention to the trailer. I overlooked the rear quarter panel of my truck hitting the pump.
No.
So I have a nice big fucking scratch on that quarter panel. I'm like, you motherfucker.
Oh.
So yeah. Bobby Roast Beef is looking for a decent body shop that maybe loves fishing and can hook a brother up. Maybe
that's the same place you bring your boat.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, actually, you know what? You might be right. You might be right.
Just call John.
That might be the move. So that was okay. So that was number one. The worst one is yet to come. And that should tell you something. You guys know how much I love my 4Runner. We get to the lake, launch with no issues. Everything's great. I park the trailer. I jump in the boat. We take off and we go. Paul is on pike. We called an audible is what happened. Initially, I was like, dude, let's do the river. Let's just go and we'll fish the Connecticut River. There's a lot of diversity in there. We could fish Oxbow. We could fish here. We could fish there. All this other stuff. Let's just go and do that. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I'm not really super familiar with the structure that's on there. Now, my boat does not have any electronics right now. That's to come later. And again, this is where we're going to see John over at JCS, and he's going to be handling all of this stuff. So my boat is like bone stock with a trolling motor. In fact, my trolling motor doesn't even have like spot lock. It's a Minn Kota power drive, and it's 55-pound thrust. And holy shit, like if I turn it a little too much to the left or to the right, it's one of those things like I want to be ready for that movement because you easily could throw yourself right out of the boat.
You don't need much for those aluminum boats, man.
You really don't. It doesn't take much. And I put it on like 7 or 8 or 9. I haven't even put it on 10 yet. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, this thing moves. So, so far I'm loving it. It's great. Paul is on fish like almost immediately. I think it's his second or third cast. We get out to this one area that we wanted to fish. He lands like an 18-inch pike. And he's like, holy shit, that's awesome. Then he catches another pike, then a pickerel, and then a smallie. That's the smallie that he caught was the fish he was able to enter into the tournament, fit in that 12 to 17-inch slot limit. I catch a pike, And then I just can't get a bite. And what's odd, it was just like, it seemed like the color was just chartreuse. Like that's what they wanted. Just like annoying, obnoxious chartreuse. It just seemed like they were just dialed. When we left, it was raining and we were throwing chatterbaits and spinnerbaits and they were just all on them. That rain died and the bite died. So we're like, all right, let's go and get kind of cute and go fish some docks. So I go over there and I've got a wacky rig and I'm throwing this around and Paul's throwing a bunch of stuff around. I'm catching rock bass now. I'm like, all right, sweet. I need a rock bass for the scavenger hunt. With 3 of them, I think I caught. Would you believe it if I told you all 3 of these fucking fish came in at like
7 inches?
Did not hit the fucking minimum that I need. I was like, you got to be kidding me, man. Yeah, it sucked. So we got chased out of this one spot because for one reason or another, there was, again, the rain had stopped and the wind wasn't too terrible at this point. So of course there's a wreck boat out there with a water skier. We were fishing this one cove where there was a whole lineup of docks around the edge of this cove. And there's just like, it's just pushing us up against the wake is just pushing us right up against all this other shit. And I'm like, you know what? I'm only catching fish that don't matter for shit. I was like, you're not getting a bite at all. Paul makes a suggestion at this point to go and move to the original spot where we were. And I said, let's go ahead and go back that direction. This is where the worst fucking thing happened. This is where the worst fucking thing of the weekend happened. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen.
I recommend taking a sip of your drink right now.
Paul is fishing a spinnerbait across the top of these weeds. The wind at this point is just starting to kick up a little bit. This is where the real like hefty wind for the Berkshires kind of started to kind of become a thing. So he goes and throws this spinnerbait and hooks up and he's like, holy shit, I got a big one on. He caught an 18 and what is it? An 18 and a quarter largemouth. Couldn't enter it in this slot tournament. It was too large. Weighed it, came in at a click over 4 pounds. This was a fat fish. I mean, this was a fat fucking fish. He was absolutely stoked. Now, again, me, and I feel like this says something to me as a co-angler, as a net man. I feel like this says something. I see this, I take my rod and I put it right down against the casting deck, right where I am. Now, I've got a good amount of lip. This is a deep V. I've got a good amount of gunnel up there, so it's not like it's just going to like roll out or anything like that. And the reel is down on the floor of the boat. I reach down and grab the net, and I see the rod lift up, and I'm thinking it's just going to lift up and fall right into the boat, or fall right back into the boat. It does not. Apparently, it lifted up and fell right into the fucking water. And I saw it, and I was so focused on getting this guy, this fish, because he needed it more than fucking anything. I go and I net this fish as the rod goes down. It was about 7 or 8 feet deep, and it was just all weeds. I scoured that area with the trolling motor looking for that rod. I could not find it. So it sucks. That's my moving bait combo.
That's not where you want to be.
Yeah. No, not at all. And like I use that rod every single time I go out and fish. I use it every single time. Dude, brutal. And I was like, I mean, Paul bought lunch afterwards, which was nice. Which, by the way, we did for lunch. We went to Pit Stop Barbecue.
I still got to try it.
Dude,
Westfield, right? Yeah,
it's in Westfield. It's not far.
It's not far
barbecue. From. Dude, it is out of this world. Paul straight up said it was the best brisket he ever had in his life.
Really?
We ordered something called the Bro Sesh.
The Bro Sesh.
And what it is it's 3 pounds of meat. You select whatever it is, and they just divide it up however it works.
That's awesome.
Two regular sides. I went with mac salad because their mac salad slaps. He went with mac and cheese, and it comes with cornbread. We chose ribs and brisket. Out of this fucking world. Like he throws that around. And I told these guys when I got there, I was like, because I know their parking is kind of crazy, but there is parking around the back. Like you can drive around the entire building.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to pop down there and see if I can park the boat down there. And I was perfectly able to. It was no problem. And I was like, yeah, I asked them, I said, yeah, I got a boat down there. I was like, is it cool if I park down there? They're like, oh yeah, no problem. You're good. Well, I'm going to have them on the show. I was like, do you guys fish at
Yeah.
all? Like, have you ever heard of it? I'm looking for an excuse to get you on the Jigs and Bigs podcast.
Yes. And get
And they're
me
like, fucking
barbecue.
hey, yeah, we'll do it. Hell yeah, man. I think personally, maybe for our next like live event, maybe like especially if we do something like in the summer, I think we should have them cater it. Like I am that much of a believer. You know what I mean? It's so good. I think I wonder if they have a food truck. That'd be perfect. Just have them show up. Oh my god, out of this world. So
They should make a food boat.
I lost. They should make a fucking food boat. I'd be tying off to that thing all the time.
There's an ice cream boat on Winnipesaukee.
Don't tell me that. I don't
Yeah,
need
it's
to know
fucking
that.
sick. They don't have
Josh,
Choco
have you ever
Tacos
told me-
anymore. But
I am. They don't have Choco Taco. Well, fuck them.
well, they
Choco
canceled
tacos.
Choco Tacos. They canceled. You can't get them anymore.
Yeah,
That's so stupid. Choco
they were the
Tacos,
best.
It was a
They were the
racist
greatest.
taco.
I mean, but everybody's got that uncle. Like, just, it's not okay, but it's like he's gonna die. Anyway, I'm terrible with that. Let's talk. So the worst thing happened. I lost that rod. It freaking sucked. The last thing, we got to the end of it. Paul wasn't putting any other bass in the boat, and neither was I. I put no bass in the boat all day long. Everything I caught was another species. So I go to, I say to Paul, I was like, you want to just call it? We'll go grab lunch. I go, I'm going to go and do a couple of rips up and down the lake because I had the real estate. Very few wreck boaters out there, and the wind was kind of kicking. I also kind of wanted to see how it handled. It handles great in the chop. Like it really does. It's unbelievably smooth. And I'm pretty excited about it. However, like I said earlier, I don't have any electronics on my boat. And there was a hump that came up pretty high with some rocks. And I did not have the motor trimmed up as high as I absolutely should have. And I just creamed my prop. It's like I still have 3 blades. I have like 2.8 blades. I'll say that. I have like 2.8 blades.
It took that big of a chunk out.
Yeah, it was sizable. Yeah. Like
now
I
you're
bassing.
Yeah.
I am. And I did some talking. I talked to Joe and a couple other folks with boats as well, and they're all like, that's actually where I realized I was like, this is that commonplace in a lot of fisheries in our area. A lot of the places that I go to, where it's just a good idea to have a backup and then a backup of the backup, so that way you can just change it out. Now I figure I'm not going to change this thing out until I absolutely have to. I think electronics are going to help that a lot.
Yeah. You got to have good. If there is anything you're going to put on that boat, have some good mapping.
Yeah, 100%. Now I'm getting weird with the mapping here. I'm going to talk to John, obviously, and in the video I talk about this. There's a lot of like talking head in this video where I am having a conversation with the viewer about like the boat, what we're working with, and what we're going to be doing in the future.
Sure.
This is going to be just interesting overall because I have this idea for the console mapping. I'm thinking about using my iPad.
Oh, yes. Just remember you have to pay extra for it.
For the Navionics, I've already got it.
Oh, because you're using
actually,
a kayak, right? Yeah.
I've already got it. So, I've been using it to I've actually been using that primarily when I'm looking at different bodies of water. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so I'm looking for ledges or I'm looking for points. Like, let's go ahead and mark some stuff in advance. So I've already got it. Yeah. But also, like, and I'm probably paying for it twice now that I think about it, because the Omnia app has amazing mapping already built in it, and one of those layers is Navionics. Like, it's built in.
Yeah.
So I'm going to toy with the two and see what's going on. I'm thinking about using that just for my mapping overall. Again, I'm not 100% sure if that's going to be permanent, but I think to get the ball rolling, like, it just might be an interesting way to look at it. I'm not sure what I'm going to put at the bow. Like, I don't know if we've had the conversation about forward facing.
Yeah.
I don't need it. I certainly don't need it, but like, would it be a good thing for me? I'm a techie guy. would it be a good thing for me to go? But I'm definitely not going to do that until I have spot lock. Like,
Yeah,
there's no
Garmin.
way.
yeah.
You know
Go
what I mean? I'm
Garmin
not
at the
gonna.
bow.
Yeah, it's like so.
You know,
and that's
you
the
know
other
what
thing.
though? A lot of people, Bobby, with the deep V's, there's a couple mounts that they
Mhm.
actually mount almost to like the side the side of the boat, like the front of the boat, and
Yep.
and it's like it's like a friggin' handle, like you just kind of spin it on your own.
You don't have to go turret or trolling mode if you don't
Yeah.
want.
Oh, you know what? I've seen that before. Yeah,
Yeah, a
you're
lot of
right.
people doing that with the deep V's for some. I don't know the reason behind why they're
Yeah.
doing that with a lot of deep V's, but
I
Huh.
hate having
but
that
if
thing
not,
up there.
I definitely recommend like the turret or something. I mean, Josh and I both have the turret. It's fucking, you need it
Oh, yeah.
for especially the
There's-
big water.
Yeah, like Champlain if you're spot locked.
Yep.
It's like
Oh,
how are you
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
chase them around if you're spot locked? You can't chase them with your trolling mode.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's the whole thing. So,
Which is funny. It
It's
was
like-
probably like 8 years ago before forward facing sonar. A couple of people I know, they're like, we were actually
Yep.
pitching our 2D out on our trolling motors, like out 10, 15 degrees. But it would be so distorted, but you would see marks like 15 to 10 feet out in front of your boat if you did
Oh
it
no
right.
shit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, what do you angle the beam upwards?
Yeah, he would literally just like
Oh, shit.
you know how like the LSS2 came out for like the rants and all that? It was just like a
Yeah.
trolling motor mounted puck, or even you just get the normal small pucks that you put a shield around.
Oh,
Yeah.
We were literally
yeah.
putting. I had plastic spacers because I did a lot of tile work, and we were literally
Yep.
like wedging an 1/8 inch spacer onto the back of those sonars, and like you couldn't kick it out much without getting crazy distortion, and you couldn't
Yeah.
like follow your bait down like forward facing sonar. But like the biggest thing was like running these fish over and them not biting. So like
Yep.
we couldn't pinpoint Cassie's fish, but we could see them in front of our boats and like cast ahead of us and know they were there.
You know what's interesting? Like, so on my kayak, I have a hook, Lowrance Hook 7. What is it? Triple TS, the triple shot, I think, or triple
That's
slip
Yeah.
right.
or
It's,
some
it's
shit.
triple
Yeah.
shot. Yep. I had the I had
And I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it for the side imaging primarily. And like
Yeah.
I've used side imaging on the kayak a little bit, like just to mainly be like familiar with it, but like I'm not out pedaling in the kayak doing laps, trying to mark an entire body of water. I can
Yeah.
100% see myself idling and just like going and finding stuff that produces on side imaging and looking at
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
So this is kind of what I wanted to talk about. Well, was that the last bad thing? Yeah, wrecking the prop was the last one. I'll get to this, and then I'm going to talk about my philosophy, like the sort of like would erupted this week.
One thing before you get in there, one cool thing about that
Yep.
boat I was just thinking of that I used to do in my deep V, especially for multi-series, Bobby. You know what
Yep.
you can do in that thing now? You can troll
What's that?
for
Oh, yeah, I
trout
can
and
troll.
shit.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. I
dude,
can.
I think I have some fucking rod holders here that I'll just fucking give you that I never fucking use from whatever.
That's beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I can fucking troll for trout.
Yep.
Trolling for
Not even going.
What's so the best? Do you know what the best part about trolling for trout is? You just sit there, you put it just out of idle, and you drink a couple beverages,
Yeah.
and you just kick it.
And, it's funny. Like I was talking with a number of folks, and I was like, I want the ability to troll. Do I
Yeah.
think that's a style of fishing that I'm going to be crazy about?
No,
I don't necessarily know. I do want to
No.
say this. So I have, and I say this in the video, I have started drinking the Lund Kool-Aid pretty fucking hard. Like pretty hard. Like there is
Yep.
Lund owners are like Jeeple. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like they are into their boats. And I've reached out on a bunch of communities and they're super supportive. They're all like very, very cool. Like they're all about it. I've been doing a little bit of a deep dive on Lund's content. And I found they did a series. I don't know if they're still doing it. Well, with a lot of the Lindner crew, rather. They do all this stuff. And I watched a video about catfishing with bass gear, and specifically this is something that I'm going to need a spot lock or some sort of an anchor or something for. But I saw this and I was like, that is very interesting. I could 100% see again. And it's a style of fishing that I already love and I'm crazy about. So it might be something where I could see this boat working for a lot in the multi-species realm, not just bass fishing. This is going to be really good.
Don't buy an anchor.
Oh yeah, I don't think so.
No, if you need them, I have them for my old boat.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah, I don't use them anymore. So
yeah, absolutely.
There's a cool thing that you'll be able to do with the anchor is anchor yourself off like in the Connecticut or when the striper are running and shit like that. Like that'll be a cool thing to do. Yep.
That'd be awesome. Like shit like that. Well, and that's the thing. Once I get, I mean, this I've looked at the upgrade. It's pricey, but it's gotta happen. You know.
Yeah.
And we'll figure it out. But I did the other thing, talking about money. I lost one of the combos that I use all the time, and I'm like, I gotta do something about this. So I got home and I went to I opened up the Omnia app and I started doing a little bit of shopping. And I figured, like, if I break something or like I would always rather upgrade than just get the same shit within reason. So what I did was I put together a little combo. Like, I'm not buying like crazy high-end shit. Like, I'm not I'm not putting money on this. I'm not competing or anything. So what I lost was a 7'2" medium fast Arc Brandon Cobb series rod. It's called the One More. Great rod. It was light enough power. And the tip was fast enough, so the sensitivity was there, but it would load up. So it was great with treble hook baits, and it was, using it for like lipless and square bills. But I could also use it with like underspins, finesse swim baits. I used it for bladed jigs. I used it for spinner baits too. And I was looking around, and I'm like, well, what do I want to do? Like, I could replace that rod. They just didn't have it in stock. So I'm like, I want to do this today. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to upgrade. The reel that was on that rod was Shimano SLX 150. Nothing crazy. This was after I'd watched one of Debo's videos, and he was like, is this the best reel at that $99 price point? And I think there's an asterisk there. I think it's like you have to be a fan of the Shimano style of brakes and everything, and not having the, the adjustable exterior, all that kind of shit. I'm into that. I drink the Shimano Kool-Aid too. So there you go. So I replaced that reel, but I got a slower one. I instead of getting the 7-speed, I got a 6. And the rod that I chose was this last fall. I bought my first St. Croix Bass X. I had to replace a jig rod, and I said, "Screw it, I'm gonna upgrade it. Go ahead and upgrade it." And that rod, I actually, between points at Bass Pro and a gift card for my birthday for my daughters, I got that rod for nothing. Like, it was great. That was awesome. And I was like, I want to see what the big deal is. A lot of people talk about St. Croix just in general. I know that Bass X is a relatively lower line, but I kind of fell in love with it. Like, it's a great jig rod. I got my new PB on that rod. So I'm like, okay, let's see what they have to offer. And I found that in the Bass X line, they have a 7.4 medium heavy moderate fast that they list as a bladed jig rod. And I'm like, that's the one. Let's go ahead and do it. So I bought that with the SLX for that. That's probably going to get here by next weekend, and I'm going to spool that sucker up and chuck around some chatterbaits. We'll see what we can do, because this has been 2024 has been the year of the chatterbait rebirth for Bobby Roast Beef, and they've been paying off. I've been catching them. In fact, you know what, Joe? The pike that I caught.
Yep.
The pike that I caught came on that Martin's bladed jig in that party pop color that I said I would never throw. It came on that because I was like, well, this has some chartreuse and some shit in it.
They love that. They love that shit, man.
I will say that bait, and I don't know, this might have been because I was fishing it too fast. It did kind of spin out a lot. Like, it's super erratic. But I'm like, holy shit, they do. They fucking love it.
It hunts.
I love that. That's my by far. I started a new thing today of bait of the day on my TikTok and my socials and stuff. It's funny you mention that, because that bait was my first one that I released today. No shit. Yeah, I love it, dude. I love that bladed jig. I caught a couple nice fish on it, from the bank the other day. It's awesome.
That is pretty bad. And it's funny. I say this all the time, and like I think it's important when you're fishing with other people to not throw the same stuff
Of
until you
course.
figured out that it's a pattern. You know what I
Especially
mean?
in a tournament.
Oh, dude, especially in a tournament. But
Yep.
like, and actually, that's exactly what the situation was yesterday. I was in 2 tournaments. Paul was in 1. And Paul, like, I am very analytical. I'll look at the conditions that are there and I'll make a judgment call. I'm like, there's really good visibility here. I'm gonna throw something, but there's a stain in the water, so I'm gonna throw something natural,
Sure.
but like maybe a perch color or something, and I'm gonna throw a little bit of chartreuse at like on the tail end, like really, really subtle, because I don't necessarily need it. Paul was throwing a straight up, primarily chartreuse with some white strands mixed in, spinnerbait, and he was just killing them. And I was like, okay, so maybe it's white. And I was like, oh, that's right. I've got that party pop. Let's throw that. Second cast in, I was like, holy shit, we got a pike. So that was pretty awesome. I'm pretty stoked on that. I'm loving life. Everything's good. I got the replacement rod coming. Everybody's happy. But let's talk about this evolution of Bobby roast beef. So what I made a little note here, and I was thinking about it earlier in the week, and I was like, man, I really think like I see myself as an angler sort of evolving a little bit more. When I started the show 4+ years ago, I was coming into it from I'm doing this as a real like novice, trying to learn more along the way and figure out what it is I like about fishing. And recently, like this year, I started throwing around that term whole angler, like fishing and like to whatever degree it is. And I put things in categories that I don't necessarily want to touch, like saltwater. I'm not interested in getting in saltwater yet. I know the day's probably going to come, but like that's too much for me to put my efforts in right now. So I'll cross that bridge when I get there. But even like dabbling with like fly fishing, and BFS was an extension of that, and the big swim baits and big wake baits and the rats and things like that. Like I kind of just like to play around with all of it, and whatever's working is what I'm gonna use at that time. Now, being in a kayak, I've kind of been a lone wolf a lot of the time. And I, was doing, really all the social fishing I was doing was bank fishing. So like it was a lot more walking around than it was catching. You know what I'm saying? So I had realized, I was like, I'm going to use this opportunity with the boat and the ability to fish with other people and bring out newbies. Like this is some stuff you guys are going to get to see on the YouTube channel, is me, grabbing some folks that play trivia with me who have like maybe never fished in their entire life, but can go out with me and, and get that fishing on a boat experience. And I can capture their reaction. That's really what it is that I'm looking for. Like they hook into a fish. Maybe they've never caught a fish in their in their life. Maybe they've never caught a big fish if they're lucky. And they're like, holy shit. Like I want to capture that and kind of introduce, like, that's how I want to grow the sport of fishing, is just by giving people exposure to it. And I think that's a great thing. So I think I'm putting more emphasis now on that, on the content, on the camaraderie, all of that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of that stems from like the Kayak Adventure series and the feedback I've been getting about those, how they're like, that is not a regular tournament. Like this is a hang is what it is, and there just happens to be money on the line, when it comes to fishing. So I'm like, that's kind of awesome. Like I kind of like it. We used to joke like back in 2020 about fishing like being a lifestyle. No, it's a lifestyle. It's a fucking lifestyle, and I'm owning it. You know what I mean?
It really is.
Yeah, I think it's, so I think that you're going to see an evolution. That's not to say that I've learned enough, and I feel like no. I'm still learning, obviously, but I've been blessed to have some folks that have really, really given me some fantastic knowledge, and some information to kind of grow on and different perspective. And I'm lucky. So thank you to everybody, there. Obviously, I think one of the primary people who have taught me a shit ton was Sean the Fisherman. And like, there's a lot of things that he'll have said at one point or another. And I'm like, oh, right. That's right. You're fucking smart. That's right. I should say, we're talking about the tournament. Sean was entered in this slot limit tournament this year. And he was fishing, out in the Midwest. And I was like, no shit, that is badass. Yeah, it was just freaking, what a wild ass tournament. let's talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, we got to.
So, you guys heard in the intro of the show, Brody did win it, but what's amazing is by how much he freaking took it. So I'm going to go through. We had 14 anglers that put in fish. We had 20 anglers in total. 14 of them put in fish. A handful of these had only put in one. So let's go ahead. We'll go through the lineup right now. And by the way, a couple of things before we get started. I had gotten to the ramp with Paul, and I got a call from Sean, and he was like, "Hey man, like it looks like the check-in is backwards. Like I get an error when I try to check into my body of water, but I can check out and it says I've checked in. It doesn't make any sense." And I was like, "Fuck, can I fix that? Because the tournament's live. Is that something I can do right here? Or do I just message everybody?" He's like, "I just message everybody, tell them to check in," which is exactly what we did. And a big shout out to everybody who competed. Everybody seemed to, I asked the folks that had called with questions, asking to make sure that they got the message. They all got the message. So that's awesome. So thank you, Fishing Chaos, for the ability to at least do that. Let's talk. How did it all play out? Well, what happened? So in 14th place right now, well, actually they concluded. These are all official. I've actually, I can't believe I turned it around that fast. In 14th place, Todd Sefton, 12 inches. Nice job, Todd. You beat me by 12 inches. Andy Dwyer in 13th place at 13 1/4 inches. Sam Cruz the third at 13 3/4 inches. Pavel Watras, that's Paul right there, 14-inch smallie right there. Dave Urkey. Now this was amazing. We had anglers from Massachusetts to California. Like, big shout out. Truly getting in on that nationwide element of this. So Dave Urkey put in 56 inches of black bass. Nice job. Tim Behan put in 76 inches. And then Sean put in 86 3/4 inches. No, hold on. I'm missing one. 85 1/4 inches went to Daniel Sudo Jr. Then Sean at 86 3/4. Let's see. Who do we have next? Hunter Cummins, 96 3/4 inches. Zach. Joe, you want to take a guess at how many inches Zach put in? Now, keep in mind, there's 96 3/4 right below him. What did Zach put in?
I looked at everything. I did, but I don't recall Zach's. He was in the Century Club, right? He was, yeah. I want to say he was like,
Joe's cheating again.
He's looking it up.
Actually, no. I was just talking. Well, I'll tell you what I was just doing in a second. But was he 136, something like that?
Not that much. He was at 114 on the nose.
Okay,
nice job, Zach. And you know what? He reached out to me afterwards. This was awesome. So there's two things.
I was in that text thread. That was funny.
So yeah, that's right. So he reaches out. He's like, "Hey man, how come none of the fish that I'm seeing here entered are the ones that I put in? Like they're all weird lengths. Did I get penalized for something?" And I was like, "You're looking at the guy listed above you. you want to look down below you." But he nailed it, and he said he had a blast. He's like, "You guys need to do this like every other month or twice a month. Like you guys need to just start doing this more often." And maybe we do. You know?
Did you do one in July or no?
No, the next one. So we only did the first one we ever did was in July, and we got hit actually with really shitty weather in the Northeast, like tornado warnings and shit. There were a lot of people that did not enter, but they had the ones who did from around the country had a blast. And then I think what we're gonna do is my plan was to do one in June and then one in maybe September or October.
Yeah,
and that's probably what we're going to do, leave it at that for now. But if people like this, I'll go ahead and do this because this is a great, if you're a competitive angler at all, like entering in this, if I did one every single weekend, like online, this would be a great double down. If you just have a great day in that slot limit, dude, collect some money,
Yep.
What is it? It's $30 to enter. Like, come on. It's a good deal.
Yeah.
Dan Griffin came in at 122.5.
Yep.
Nice job, Dan. This is where we see a little bit of a jump here. Okay. Binya Outdoors, Mike Hansen, 151 3/4 inches. Matt Thayer in second place, and I believe at 20, I believe it's first, second, and third that are getting payouts. Matt Thayer at 157 3/4 inches, beating him by 6 inches.
That's all it took was an extra 6 inches, eh?
In fact, I'm going to share this little bit of a story here. I told you Brody won, and I'll tell you what the amount is here. So I had made a phone call in like the last 45 minutes. I had looked at the scoreboard, and Matt Thayer and Brody were painfully close, like probably 3.5 inches difference, something like that. And I said to Matt, I called him, truth be told, to maybe just get in his head a little bit. So like maybe it would throw him a little bit. But I said, here's the deal. Let's make a bet. I go, if you beat a 12-year-old little boy, right? If you beat him, you owe him some Klondike custom creation spinnerbaits and chatterbaits, man, at the very least. I go, however, if he beats you, I'm giving Brody a Jigs and Bigs hat and a Jigs and Bigs hoodie. And Brody got it. He did it. He won at 224 inches, dead to nuts. Excellent job, Brody.
You want to hear the plot twist on this, Bobby?
Well, yeah. What's the plot twist?
And this is what I was doing on my phone. I was just talking to Brody's mom. Brody actually just turned 11 last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought he was 12. Oh,
no,
shit,
Brody
dude.
just turned 11 last week.
Well, we're going to deny him on lack of age verification.
It even puts a little bit more insult to injury.
That's awesome.
Yep. Yeah. But this kid. So I've known this kid for quite a while now because he used to come to my shop when I grew up with his mom. I had this, he came in when I had the shop. They were there constantly, like literally every bit of money that they got from birthdays, Christmas, whatever, they came in Old Glory and spent it. Kid's a hammer. Awesome. He lives breathes fishing at now just 11 years old. I'm going to tell you, if he sticks to it, this kid's going to be a problem as he gets older. For sure.
I think so. Yeah. I 100% could see that coming in the future for him. Just absolutely just killing it. Absolutely. And I love to see young folks that are so stoked on fishing. You know what I mean? It's just like that is freaking awesome, man. It's awesome.
In the fight, I know we talked about it. People are like, oh, the pictures were like, it seemed like some of them he was in a boat, some of them he was in a kayak, like so literally he again, like I said, I talked to his mom. I actually ran into her last night, and it was kind of like he did the full 8 hours, and being an 11-year-old, he literally he started off, I believe, in like a family member's like John boat on this body of water. And then whether he came in, took a break or whatever, like then he like hopped in his kayak, went out there by himself, and he's by himself out there with his kayak, dude. So he's taking these pictures. He's got his catch board at 11 years old, with his phone or whatever. And then, to finish it off, he just fished like from the dock and from the bank. So he stuck it out for that 8 hours, and it amazes me. It's awesome because if you think about it, 8 hours of fishing for an 11-year-old kid, that's a lot, man.
I'm going on 50, and it's a lot for me.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm in a boat. I'm like, oh God. Pat Martin says something very interesting. He goes, when he gets older, he's a problem now.
He is.
He's killing it, dude. That's awesome. Dan Griffin chimes in. He goes, fishing pro league, and an 11-year-old killed it. Like, I love that. Yep. Like, And Sean even he was like, before it was done, I think we were down to like the last 2 hours. He's like, so Brody's killing this dude. He goes, that's your headline. That's what you want. He goes, you want Brody to win this thing. I was like, oh hell yes, I do.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I do. I'm like, I can't say anything like that, but I'm like 100%. So yeah, Brody, I'm gonna reach out to your mom. We'll get you a Jigs and Bigs hoodie and a hat ASAP. You absolutely killed it, homie.
Good job, dude.
And I'm going to be doing payouts this week, so everybody's going to get their cut, and that's awesome. So I'm glad everybody really seemed to enjoy it. You know, it's a little bit kind of interesting. I'm debating maybe for the fall one, getting rid of the check-in, check-out, and the reason is I can see all of these catches and verify like public water and stuff anyway. I'm thinking about getting rid of the check-in just so that if you were like, this body of water is just not working, I have a backup plan. Yeah, take that hour and burn it and go elsewhere. You know what I mean? I'm debating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if that's how you want to use your time, then go for it. I'm just,
I actually,
you know,
I like that because like it makes it a little bit more. You got to like really like. It puts a different emphasis into it where you really have to like plan your time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
hey,
you
is
know,
it
it's
worth?
like
I actually like that, Bobby, especially the people on the boats.
That's exactly it. I'm like, because like I showed now again, like I had a plan initially, and then when I realized that this was the week for the boat, that plan like left. I was like, nope, because my intention was Tuesday. I was gonna go pre-fish, and I was gonna go because I hadn't been to this place in well over a year. Almost a year. And I'm like, I'm going to go pre-fish and see what's up, blah, 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 blah. In fact, do you remember that dude, Joe, at the Sportsman Show?
Mm-hmm.
The guy I was talking with, I remember Matt and Pat were at our booth, and we were having a conversation. I was talking about a guy from out in the Berkshires, and I was like, this is the fishiest dude I've ever met in my life. Like full sleeve fishing tattoos. And then the motherfucker rolls up.
I do remember this. Yeah. Okay. I do remember this.
The last time I fished that spot I bumped into him. That's where I met him. So I'm like, fuck, should I go? And then, after I signed on the dotted line, I was like, this could happen any day. I'm clearing the schedule because last thing I want to do is be out with my kayak, then have to go and drop that trailer off to then drive all the way to Leicester to go get the boat. I'm like, I'm just going to clear my day, hang out with the wife, do some housework, get in her good graces. And it worked out. So yeah, my plans to fish went completely out the window. But this is crazy. Pat put something interesting in here. He goes, he and Matt were really close before that. He goes, I'm texting Matt going, you're only down by 2.5. Now 1.5 inches. Then Brody just ran away with it.
Yeah.
I didn't know he won by that much.
So Bobby, I'm thinking about it now. So now you have my brain kind of running with the whole like, the no check in, no check out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any in Josh, maybe you can, at least any boat tournament where you have the opportunity to fish multiple bodies of water. And it like puts a lot of strategy into play.
It does. It adds that whole other element. You're like, if you want to go, because like I can see where the catches are. If it's not public water, if I'm questioning it, then I can make the adjustment after the fact.
Yeah,
it's like,
it would be, especially for like a bank angler, they can like be running. I obviously we'll talk more about it, or you know what I mean. But I think that's a cool idea. I think that puts something a little different into it that
it might be interesting. Yeah, exactly. Because then it's like, you don't have to check in. You can go start wherever you are, and all your photos are time stamped, all that. Like it's maybe we'll play around with it. Dan goes, I didn't even realize that you needed to check in or check out. How did you know to do that? So Dan, in the when you do in Fishing Chaos on the day of, it will pop up automatically when you go on there that day, and it will say, give you the check-in, and it's under, I think it's safety settings is what it is. If you're looking for it, safety status is what it is. So if you tap safety status, it'll show up and it'll say check in, check out. Like it still says me out of the water, current status. Yeah. And it was because I screwed that up and I did it backwards. So you're going to drop that one body of water rule. I'm toying around with the idea, Pat. You know, it might. Again, it's about time management.
Yeah. And I think that's a cool, like, I just personally think that's a cool little thing to put into it. But
Yeah.
it's funny, we talked Dan, like I said, we went out and had a couple drinks, me and Dan Griffin last night, and with the families, and like it's funny to hear about, like, because this was his
Mhm.
first any online tournament, anything with a board, catch board, or anything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny to hear about like the growing pains he had, because I had the same,
Oh, yeah.
when I did it for the first time.
Definitely.
And it's but he enjoyed it. He said he had a blast. He had a good time, so
I'm
I
stoked.
can't wait to get into the next one. So
Yeah, it's
I
gonna be
wish it
really
was
good.
next month because I'll be on Champlain.
oh
Oh
shit.
hell yeah, dude! Champlain does good things. It just does.
Oh, nice
Janelle
boy.
Orsino in the May scavenger hunt took, I think, 3rd or 4th place.
Yeah.
And it was all those fish that really helped her get over that, like over the hump into the money, were from that week she spent in Champlain. Champlain is just, if you got the time to fish it, man.
Let me ask you this, Bobby, because
Yeah.
so I have yet to actually do a slot tournament, because last year we had fucking tornado warnings, and this year
Oh,
I
yeah.
forget, didn't have my catch board. Is it the same slot limit every one?
What do you mean the same? Oh, the same 12 to 17 every time we
Yeah.
do it? Yeah.
Yeah.
12 to 17 is just a good sort of number where, like,
That's every fish.
yeah, every single fish. So, if
so
you
I guess,
think of
like-
it as like a catch 'em all, but
Yeah.
That
They
would be
have to
so
be in the
perfect
slot.
for Champlain. There's like a
So-
million.
Right.
fish
So I guess,
there,
like,
so-
in my mind, it's almost like, so this is where I'm going, and this is just me thinking. It's like, man, do we like switch it up every time and be like, and like give it like the morning, like, the day before, a couple days before, be like, hey, here's your slot limit. It's this
so
length to this
I-
length.
I'm going to tell you why it's 12 to 17
Okay.
and why we keep it that way. And Dan Griffin brings up a good point. He goes, "Oh, you should do it as a 12 plus tournament. I got more I got more bigs on the slot." The
Just
reason
catch
why we
alligator gar.
don't is when it comes to bass, that
Mhm.
gives an advantage to the southern anglers.
Sure.
Because there are more larger fish there.
So
Doing 12 to 17 is a little bit more of a equalizer.
yeah. So
And it-
what I was thinking is like, oh, maybe this one it's 12 to 17, then maybe the next one is like 14 to 16, and then the next one like maybe 12 to
shit.
15. I'm not
Oh,
saying
dude.
go over that. I agree.
Okay.
Because but I'm saying it's
narrow
like,
it that much more. Oh my god. Oh my god.
yeah,
Lucky
that's what, and like
13s.
and
we
like
could do
and,
a lucky 13s fucking
Yeah.
tournament
and like
and
not
only
give them
14-inch. Yeah.
not give it to them until like a couple days before. Be like, hey, your slot limit is 13 to 16. And
I'm down for that.
And then they'd be like, oh, okay, so that changes it. I might have to go to this place versus this place if it's that.
Yeah.
You know what
Fuck.
I'm down.
That's a great idea, man.
I'm talking
I also
crappy,
gotta say,
son.
This week I kind of fell back in love with a wacky rig, dude.
I fucking love that. I love the wacky rig. I always aim more towards the Nico a little bit.
A Nico with a weight, yeah.
Yeah, I always do it. But when I do a wacky, so Eco Pro Tungsten makes a wacky weight that goes underneath. I just like to have a little bit of weight on there. But dude,
I almost put a nail weight in the middle of my Senko.
Yep.
Like just to get it to fall in that
Yeah,
one.
I just love having a
jointed spot.
little bit of weight. But dude, nothing.
Yeah.
I will argue that to the fucking death that a wacky rig is going to
works.
catch fish every time, no matter what.
Yeah, it just freaking works, man.
Yep.
It really does. I've been using some, I forget where these hooks are that I was using, but I don't love them. They're super heavy wire. Like when I first got them, I was like, these are wacky hooks? It's not very finessey at all. I'm like, this is like, it's like a jig hook. You know what I mean? But it's a wacky shape, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
comment your suggestions on other hooks that I should throw.
So I will
Jungle
mention
wacky.
I will mention a hook, and I think Josh and I might have talked about this hook. I don't remember. Taylor kind of got me thinking of. So when I was fishing with Taylor and his buddy Kevin, those first couple days on St. Lawrence, have you ever heard the company Spear Point?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Dude,
I have.
I never tried them because they were like so weird looking and stuff. Those fucking things are sticky.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I started
Huh.
using them with them. I actually really liked them a lot. They're more. I only use the finesse hooks.
Yep.
Taylor said he only uses like their finesse hooks, but yeah, dude, they're awesome. They're an awesome hook, man. Like
No shit.
even with like any normal hook set where typically you just kind of can pop it out with your hand, dude. I needed a set of
Yep.
pliers. Like
No shit. Really?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
That's something
definitely
to
look
into.
at them. Yep,
Yeah,
that's
there's-
so Binya. Yeah, so we were actually using them as drop shot hooks that day.
Yep. I know a lot of people will use the same hooks to drop shot. I'm kind of snooty when it comes to my drop shot hooks. I like the mosquito hook, the owner mosquitoes.
Yeah.
The super tiny ones. I forget what size they are. They're super tiny, almost like trout hooks.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. But I don't know. Oh, Mustad 2-watt Demon Perfect Circle inline wacky setup. All right. I'll take a look at these. We'll go back to Omni. We'll see if I can bulk up my order. It hasn't shipped yet. God,
I'm never going to financially recover from this.
That's about the reality of it.
Yep.
So Joe, we got some headlines, don't we?
Let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
So I got two headlines for you guys today. This first one that we're going to talk about makes me chuckle a little bit. This one gives me like the good and feelies on the inside. So,
okay, good.
You ready for this headline?
Yep.
Infamous walleye cheaters boat currently for sale.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Really?
In 2022, Jacob
right.
Runyon and Chase Kaminsky, faced legal consequences after famously stuffing weights and walleye during a Lake Erie fishing tournament. The incident led to felony charges and 10-day jail sentences for each angler. They were also forced to forfeit their 2022 Ranger Pro FS 622 bass boat to the authorities. Now, this 2022 Ranger Pro FS 622 bass boat is available for auction on govdeals.com. GovDeals is a website used by government agencies to sell surplus goods such as this bass boat. I wouldn't call it a bass boat. They're calling it a bass boat. I wouldn't. But despite its controversial history, the vessel has some impressive features, including a supercharged Mercury Verado 400, push-button start, Minn-Kota Ulterra 36-volt electric trolling motor, and other high-end features. Valued at $130,000 by authorities, the current highest bid stands at $80,000. Before we started recording, I looked, and it's currently the bid is $82,000.
Wow.
Bidding concludes at 4 p.m. on July 23rd. Prospective buyers can inspect the boat at the Dempsey Fishing Access Area in Lakeside, Marblehead, Ohio on July 13th. So I actually went on govsales.com, looked at it. They're actually doing it the right way. They're storing this thing inside, like keeping it immaculate. Here's what I love, and I hope they stick to this. Proceeds for the sale will go to the Ohio Department of Natural Resource Division of Wildlife. This money will support conservation efforts and law enforcement activities aimed at protecting the state's wildlife and apprehending offenders like Runyon and Kaminsky.
What's crazy is those guys won like an insane amount of money in the last decade. So like
money.
If you look at what they've won since like 2004, it's like how were they actually cheating the whole time? Because they might have stolen $1 million of money.
Yep.
Like actually.
Yep.
Todd Sefton asked a really good question. He goes, "Are all the lead weights included with that boat?"
Yeah. So I mean, I'm looking at this boat right now. It's a fucking sick. I mean, it's a walleye boat, so it's almost like that Mod V, DV, kind of. But the thing is fucking phenomenal.
Nasty Erie boat.
Oh yeah. Yep. And, fun fact.
We actually had sorry, go ahead, Joe. Go.
Fun fact, I think we talked about it a little bit, but one of these guys, I don't know if it was Runyon or Kaminsky, shortly after being released from his 10-day jail sentence, was prosecuted once again because it turned out he was also poaching deer.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
And then-
I remember that.
Yeah,
The same week,
it
one
was
of their kids got caught using fake money.
oh
One
my
of their
gosh.
sons got caught using like fake
Oh.
$100 bills somewhere,
So
and they
it's-
traced that back to him too. That was like
It's
within
just
a week of this all happening. One of them got caught
Oh my
poaching
God.
deal. Another one's son got caught using fucking fake $100 bills.
So it's just a family of degenerate fucks is
Dude,
basically what we're getting
I
at.
always
family
tell,
business.
I was telling Taylor when we were up in St. Lawrence, I'm like, dude, the best part about Pennsylvania is it's not Ohio.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
true.
right.
That's about the best
Yeah,
thing
right.
about it. Yeah.
You
God
guys ready
damn,
for
dude.
another one?
Yeah, hit me with some good
So-
shit. What do you got?
This one actually was sent to me from our favorite Canadian, Old Saint Nick. So it he sent this to me via Instagram. It's a cool story. So here we go. Massive 200+ pound sturgeon caught just upriver from New York City. So
Hudson River, then?
yeah, let's yeah, it was a Hudson actually. So fishery biologists caught and released a 6-foot-long dinosaur during a population study on the Hudson River. A group of New York fisheries biologists pulled a massive Atlantic sturgeon from the Hudson River in late June using live capture nets and operating under a research permit. They caught the 200-pound prehistoric fish near Hyde Park, which is just 80 miles upriver from the Big Apple. The fishing expedition was part of a longer-running sturgeon population assessment in the Hudson River that has been ongoing since 2006. In a Facebook post, staff at the New York Department of Environmental Conservation Hudson River Estuary Program said the fish was over 6 feet long and weighed roughly 220. They think the sturgeon was a female that hadn't yet spawned. After measuring the fish, they took a fin sample for genetic analysis, then tagged the fish and released it. Because Atlantic sturgeon are federally protected under the Endangered Species Act, it's illegal to target or possess them in New York or many other states in the Northeast corridor. The only exception is for scientific purposes, and NYDC fisheries staff are allowed to catch and release the fish. A national service research permit. And then it just kind of goes like, they talk about kind of like the program and everything. But yeah, it's kind of cool. So and I was glad Nick sent this because we actually see this locally here with the Connecticut River.
Yeah, we do. We see sturgeon in there. In Massachusetts, they're like highly, highly protected.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We're just like New York.
Yep.
It's like if you hook into one, you're not supposed to touch it, take pictures.
Yep.
You just need to, if you can't get the hook out, you just cut it. Like, yeah, they're very, very protected.
There's going to be a lot of big ones like sooner than later, though. I remember the last tournament I was running up from like the Oxbow, dude. There's hundreds of like 2 to 3 foot one, like hundreds of them running the flat.
Really?
Yeah.
I have yet to see one in person on the Connecticut. Yeah, they're literally a living dinosaur. I mean, they're awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Their eggs
absolutely.
taste good too.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Little caviar.
Mhm.
But yeah, so
Joe's
it
out
was
there
a
on
cool.
the banks.
Yeah,
Joe's
yeah.
on the banks bringing out a sturgeon.
Meg, get the crackers.
Hang on, it would be.
Meg, get the crackers.
Yeah, that's more accurate.
It would be, yeah.
That's way more accurate. But yeah, so it's like kind of like what Nick sent this to us for is yeah, they're making a big comeback here too. They're coming back, so it's kind of a lot like moose. You know what I mean? Like we are starting to see moose around here. I have one that fucking travels around my house. I catch it on my camera all the time.
Oh really?
Yeah, oh yeah. We have a bunch of them here in North Brookfield. Yeah, that's where I live, everyone, in case I never said it before. But yeah, so it's kind of like that. It's like maybe not so much in our like near lifetime, but like there will be a moose hunting season here again. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like at some point, it'll probably be a lottery or whatever. So that makes you come to think like maybe not so much in our near lifetime, but there probably will be sturgeon fishing again. Hopefully. I mean, that would be cool. But yeah, and the black bear, God, we have so many. I mean, Dan lives like 3 miles from me. Yeah,
Yep.
he lives like
back.
3. We have them every year. Every year I have so many fucking bear on my property in my yard. There's been times where
Hey, boys.
yeah. So I have I'll send you guys all the fucking I'll send you guys the videos I have of them on my cameras outside my house. But there's been times where we hear something on the deck. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And we go and there's just a bear sitting on my deck looking into my glass, my slider. Just hey, what's up, guys?
It's Dan Griffin
crazy.
asking for Senko hooks.
Yeah, Stan asking for Senko hooks. Yeah. So it's funny. So Dan's biggest problem at his house. So he has this little swampy pond right next to his house, and he has his 2 problems are fucking beavers and the fucking Canada geese that are shitting all over his driveway that I laugh about every time I drive by his house.
That sucks, man. I mean, you get goose shit everywhere.
Oh, dude, it's so bad. It's funny too, because him and his kids will chase him off when they're home, but they travel a lot in the summer. And I drive by their house all the time, and I'll see fucking 50 of them just kicking it in his driveway, and I'll text them up and dude, there's so many geese in your driveway right now. Yeah.
Oh, bobcats. Yeah, that's rough too. Yeah.
I get the goose problem here too. I've resorted to clay ammunition in a wrist rocket.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Freaking crazy, man.
And that's what we have for the news this week, Bobby and Josh.
I love it. That's really good, man. That's really, really good.
And thank you to Saint Nick from Canada,
yeah,
for the information.
Your bag of milk.
Yeah.
I was curious. I didn't catch this when we were in Columbus and in Saint Nick's presence. But does he say a boot?
Oh, I didn't catch it.
I never caught that.
I didn't catch that, but what I did catch is when I told Meg,
I would have lost my mind.
Oh yeah. So it's funny when I told Meg that Josh and I did the run up to Canada on the St. Lawrence. She's like, why didn't you bring me back any of those fucking ketchup chips? She loved the ketchup chips that he brought.
I can get you ketchup chips.
Oh yeah?
There's a spot actually. It's not far from Congamon Jr.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, the ketchup ones are a little bit more rare, but on a regular, I can get the all dressed ones if there's one spot.
I mean, I'm right there, so you have to shoot me the place so I could check it out.
Yeah, I will. I'll throw a pin there.
Is it the market that's right there?
It's the market that's no, not in the big plaza. You know where the donkey is?
Okay.
Right
yeah. Oh, I do know that
right
one.
There.
Okay. Yep. All right. I know what one you're talking about.
Yeah, I was like, I think I saw a video Becca was in Canada and she was just like, these are the most amazing things ever. Yeah. And I was like, I've heard about those before. I'll give them a shot. They are really good. The ketchup ones are hard to come by over there.
Yeah.
But every once in a while they pop up. The all dressed. Oh God, I love the all dressed.
Yeah. It's so funny because Emma, my daughter, because Emma took.
I don't say a boot.
I figured he didn't because I think it's one of those things where we would have been like immediately. You know what I mean?
Oh, Christ, no shit, bud.
Oh man, I freaking love it. I don't think we have anything else for this segment, but our next segment, we have some really, really good stuff. We're going to be having a conversation in Gear of the Week that you're not going to want to miss out on because it's involving our rod arsenals. What is it what are we choosing to work with here? We're going to talk, not just brands, but also powers and actions as well, and what we use them for. It's interesting. I find if you're a beginning angler, sometimes that can be very confusing. What is it that you're necessarily looking for? So we got that to talk about. We have an FTG this week, and we also have a great tip for you guys, especially if you're a first-time boat owner. Yeah, that you guys will enjoy. We will see you guys in a bit. Don't go too far. We got much more Jigs and Bigs goodness coming up right after this.
Sweet.
Freaking beautiful.
I was going to take a leak real quick.
Yeah, I
Oh. Is that hair jig? Yeah.
So I caught them all in St. Lawrence.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
When we were shallow, I'm gonna bring up into it. Like I got a bunch of cranks out and these hair jigs, and we're gonna get into that.
Huh.
Or we can
I
get into it
gotta.
next time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good gear of the week. Pop that in the in your little memory bank, and we'll definitely do that. Do you find
All
like
right.
hair jigs are more seasonal, or do you throw them just based on the conditions?
If I'm fishing for smallmouth, I did not show up with that one tied on.
No shit. Okay. All
Oh
right.
yeah, absolutely. I dedicate a rod to it on my deck, 100%.
No shit. Okay. Oh, Dan's asking if you're making jigs.
No, Dan. But I can get you hooked up with these, no problem. Beast Coast also has the Superfly coming out. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but it should be here in a couple of weeks. It's been a lot of reiterations and all that good shit, production goes and prototypes and I guess all that nonsense.
Hair jigs, drop shot, leeches, and Neds. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sign me up for all of them. Drop shotting leeches? Yes.
Oh, but that was a big thing for a while with like the max scent leeches or like the gulp
Yep.
leeches, I think it was. That was big. Between smallmouth and walleye guys.
Oh yeah. Beast Coast is the shit, Todd. You're not
Fuck
wrong.
yeah.
They're fucking great. They have a great product. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I should look into it because they do have a good tungsten line. I should take a look at some of their stuff. I need a jig guy to make some skirted Neds for me. My guy's too busy. Skirted Neds, huh? You looking for an open hook Ned or are you looking for an EWG Ned, Dan?
Just show it up. Go ahead.
I have almost switched exclusively to EWG Neds. Almost. Yeah. There was a little concern where some people would ask me, "Oh, aren't you worried about hookup ratio?" I'm like, I haven't lost enough fish to where I think it's a problem.
It's not my
I've done all right. Yeah. Although I
usually do finesse jigs.
That's the other thing too. It's like I found a company that does finesse jigs. Discovered them through Dark Horse called Giltech, and they make this one. It's a 3/16 ounce finesse jig. It's kind of got a mushroom head. Actually, you know what, Dan, if you're looking for those, you should look into that Giltech finesse jig. I don't know how light you can get them, but I've been throwing 3/16, and you know what I like to rig them with is Riot makes this small finesse crawl called a Tantrum. And it's almost a TRD body with these two little tiny flappy arms that just go fucking nuts when they drop. Unbelievable.
It's nasty bait. Incredible bait.
Yeah. Or a 2.8 inch Kitech will work great. Like that 2.5 to 3 inch swim bait. Well, they're fantastic on them. Yep. I 100% agree. Best finesse jig. I've probably got fucking 25 of them in my box. Couple of staple colors. Offshore tackle tadpoles, huh?
Can we get a picture of those up or something?
Yeah, I'd love to see those. Let me see if I can
Can they post pictures or no, Bobby? I just figured out how to use the comments 30 seconds ago.
They cannot. Okay. But I
can screen share or something like that.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to try and find one. Offshore tackle resettable tadpole. I'm not sure if this is exactly. Let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to save this image here. There we go. And
we're going to have to change it to where the fuck is Joe Brown?
It's true. Where the fuck is Joe Brown? Share.
She's probably getting yelled at about the new boat.
What's that?
He's probably getting yelled at about the new boat.
Oh, he might be. Let's go ahead and do this. Is this what you're talking about?
What the hell?
Nick, is that what you're talking about? Bobby searching tadpoles and get himself on the dark side of the internet. That's what comes up. I'm just curious.
What is that? It's like a dropper rig.
It is. It's like, and it looks like from some of the other images, it looks like you put like almost like an inline blade behind it.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yep, that's it.
No shit.
Ah.
Well, we're fucking learning some shit. Ketchup fucking chips and fucking offshore tadpoles.
Damn.
You did last night when I said it in front of Meg. Okay. Oh,
That's
it's
a trolling rig.
rig. That makes sense.
The old waddle leech.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The old waddle leech.
South Detroit.
How to use
like
the
the
tadpole
Detroit
diver.
River.
No shit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Detroit, Rock City. I gotta
What
clean
part-
this fucking desk up.
We could go troll those leech droppers in the Quabog River. There he is. Where the fuck is Joe Brown?
Oh yeah, there he is.
5 foot leader in a worm harness. I never knew there was comments like this here, guys. I just figured this out 3 minutes ago now.
Oh really? Oh, this
Yeah.
is the best because these are all
did you have it
jig
on
heads.
private chat still?
Well, no one. I didn't know anything about this.
Dude, it
and-
took me a couple weeks to figure it
yeah,
out too.
I was like,
actually.
what? I keep poking around at stuff, and now here we are.
Let's see what we got.
Ain't
Now,
no party
I got-
like a Detroit party. This is actually just Eminem, isn't it?
It really is.
Next the man.
That's really that's what it gets down to. And then we got I got FTG. Oh yeah, Binya FTG. That's right there. All right, let's go ahead and do this, guys.
Wait, what did Dan say in front of Meg last night?
About the boat.
Oh yeah.
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 Going
Sell
broke
the
on the
broken one.
boat.
Sell the broken one to buy a new one.
It's not gonna be broken when it's done.
That's true. All right, let's go ahead and do this. Just the tip, and then we'll jump into our FTG. We are rolling in 3, 2.
Perhaps play a little game called Just the Tip. Just for a second, just to see how it feels. Or ouch, ouch, you're on my hip.
All righty, guys, we're back. Just the tip this week. We got a good one for you. And if you listen to the first segment of this show, you know that Bobby Roast Beef is a new boat owner. And with that comes a lot of education, you know, bringing out a vessel that's put this much debt into my life. You know, I'm trying so hard to be as careful as possible. And I will tell you this much. If you are zipping around, the tip this week, after my experience of taking a nice sized chunk out of my prop, if I could give you some information, it's to trim your motor up a little bit higher than maybe you think you need to. You know, be aware of what the hell is going on and trim it up just a little bit more. I mean, my motor was trimmed all the way down, like it was all the way down. And it was stupid for me to fucking run it like that. And I was moving in a pretty good clip too. And just hit a hump, you know, big old part of a rock sticking up and it sucks. So trim up a little bit higher than maybe you think you need to, and avoid yourself some damaged equipment and you know, a few $100 to get a back stock of parts so that you can, you know, repair it when you fuck it up again, because ultimately you will. Ultimately you will. Do you guys have any advice on this? Is that the blanket end of the tip, or is there something else anybody should take away from that?
Oh, it's just
there
the
he
way
is.
it goes. Sometimes running shallow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you know, it's just one of those things, man. It is just one of those things.
It's funny
I
because
was
it's like
kicking
one.
myself.
There's like
Go
one
ahead.
body of water I won't touch anymore because like the first time, it was one of the first times I brought the Skeeter out. It was
Oh.
actually for one of Dan's Wednesday night league, and it was there's this like channel you have to go through to get to the main lake, and I wasn't super familiar with it, and you have to stay like right in the lane, and I had it jacked up, I had it fucking trimmed up, and I still tagged a rock with that prop like right off the rip.
This is Van Chog, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was. Yep. And I was like,
Dan
like,
just said it.
Dan knows. Yeah, there it is, man.
I tell him, I'm like, I'm not, because there's like nowhere to put that place. They have like a nice parking lot, but the ramp fucking sucks. There's nowhere to like put your boat. There's no dock, and they have this random concrete wall that like causes you like, if there's any little bit of wind, you're gonna bump into this that place sucks. The fishing's decent, but the launch sucks.
Manchog, that's in Connecticut, isn't it?
Nope, it's here in Mass.
No,
yeah,
I'm thinking of something else. I'm thinking of Mashpog. That's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking Mashpog. Gotcha. Oh yeah, Mike says, "Oh, Champlain has a lot of surprise sandbars."
I love Champlain.
It does. Yeah. Oh, who doesn't love Champlain? But now, speaking of Binya, we're going to go ahead and jump into our little FTG segment. So I do like that folks are making good use of the hotline. You know, we get a lot of folks that use the hotline, but it's not just for FTG segments, guys. You can sound off about anything you want, like Binya did leaving a message today, congratulating Brody, stuff like that. So if you have shout outs or anything, give the hotline a call. It's one of the few spots that runs all the time in between segments here. So go ahead and check it out. But let's see what Binya has to say in this week's FTG.
Hey guys, Binya here. Have an FTG for you. So I was fishing in the tournament this weekend, and I did not have any service at the lake, to the point where I was getting nervous not being able to get home in time to submit my submissions. And I decided I was going to leave a little bit early so that I could get home and get the service. I get to the ramp, and there is a guy with a full decked out camo duck boat parked right at the top of the ramp with his boat. He saw me come in. He saw me start unpacking my stuff, watched me walk back and forth to my truck twice, didn't move. And honestly, I did not want to try and talk to him because I thought for sure it was going to turn into a conflict. He proceeded to put rod sleeves on every one of his rods, put every single piece of tackle in an organized box away in a compartment while parked directly in front of the ramp instead of going into the completely empty parking lot to do his packing. So I just wanted to throw that out there to the asshole blocking the boat ramp. Move next time, buddy. Move.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucked.
You need hand grenades.
That fucking sucks. That fucking sucks. Todd goes, he goes, I didn't think you could leave the lake to submit. I mean, I checked the rules to double check, and the submissions don't end at 4:00. They end at 4:30, which is cutting it close. So that's why it's like that, so that the pressure is to go ahead and get your submissions in when you're on the water. But yeah, I mean, you can submit. It's not ideal to do so because, like, again, sandbaggers kind of suck. Like, you can think you're absolutely killing it, and then you just have somebody enter a bunch of fish, especially in a tournament like this where it's not your best 3, your best 5. You know, you're talking about it's catch 'em all style. So you catch a bunch that are within that slot. If you don't set that up, that's John says, isn't that what the tie down area is for? I don't know if that was in there. Well, Binya's in here now. What's up, Binya? Was there a tie down area? Although some ramps are just chaos. The place where I went on Friday when I went for the first rip in the boat, there's one staging spot. At least I think that's what that's supposed to be over at South Pond.
Yeah. I just always pull it either into that parking lot across the street or on the side of the road. Yeah,
I've used it, like, especially with my kayak, because I'm there for like no time.
Yeah.
The boat is actually pretty easy to stage, though. It really is. There's only a couple of things that I gotta, really get set up, and I've used that before. But there we go. So Mike says, "No, this ramp is redneck style dirt parking lot." Fair enough. People are just fucking clueless, though, Mike. It sucks. Like the situation I had before with idiots parking all wherever the fuck they literally wanted, and then the cops showing up and going like,
Bro, relax. Just do what you want. Nobody fucking cares.
It's fucking morons. This guy, what an asshole. That sucks, man. Well, I mean, good news is you made it in enough time to submit your stuff. And I think that that's part of the strategy too with these types of tournaments, the CPR tournaments. You got to have cell phone service around. Like, it might be amazing, but that's part of the sacrifice you've got to make. If you're like, oh, I'm going and it's totally off grid, I've got no service whatsoever. You got to go like, I know that there's service. I can get down at that McDonald's or whatever and get to that body of water in enough time to enter your stuff. But man, that's freaking crazy, dude. Oh, Metal Jones in the house. Metal Jones in the house. You guys ready to compare rods?
Let's do it.
Let me unzip.
Okay, gearheads, it's time to talk tools. Jigs and Biggs gear of the week.
All righty, guys. So, we were talking right before the show about some options for gear, what we're talking about. And Josh had mentioned like, oh yeah, I got some rods I can use for an example. I said, what would be really good? Why don't we talk about what we're using as our arsenals? And I bring this up because I have a weird sort of way to look at how I select my rods. And with recently having to replace a combo, this kind of came into the spectrum right there. I was looking at technique specific stuff. Before we get into this, I want to just throw this out here. Like, I've seen some videos where folks will talk about technique specific gear and how like, oh, you don't need technique specific gear. You got to look at all the words in that statement. No, you do not need technique specific gear. But if you want to work a bait or a presentation in the best possible way, it's nice to have stuff that has characteristics that help that presentation. So if you're throwing a bait with treble hooks, maybe a more moderate action versus a fast, stuff like that. So let's go ahead and talk about it. I think we should do the a sandwich. Let's have Josh go first, and then I'll jump in because I've got a very different. I don't do tournaments at all, and my way of looking at a rod arsenal is totally different. So take it away, Josh.
I think a lot of what you're looking for in setup has to do with your like hook set style, so to speak. I mean, I probably use a softer jig rod than most do because I swing it hard, whereas like on a reaction bait, especially a crankbait, I probably use a lot stiffer rod than most people do because if I'm like say crankbaiting, spinnerbaiting around like laydowns and stuff like that bite can happen quick and then they're around a limb. So I don't want something so soft that I have to still set the hook hard. I almost want something that I can just lean that fish out of cover. I think another big part of that is like drop shotting, finesse fishing, where like that small tiny hook is so coherent across every platform and what everyone fishes that rod really needs to be specified to your hook set. Because there's people that set their hook on a Senko or a drop shot just like they do on a jig, whereas like again, that's where I'm more of a lean the weight of the rod in the fish. So like again, I'll probably fish a heavier spinning rod than most people actually do, but that's just because outside of like a jig or anything with a weed guard, I just want to lean and not swing, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. I think like I definitely pay attention to that with the baits that I'm throwing. Like, how am I setting the hook? I want some kind of give, but there's a theory. I had this conversation recently about how there's this theory out there about something in your combo, not meaning the reel or the rod, but the rod, the reel, the line, and the bait. Something in there has to be able to give. And you got to think about what are you throwing for line? If you're throwing mono, you get a lot more stretch in that. And that might be enough. That might allow you to be able to use a faster action rod because of that stretch. If you're using like a mono leader and it's a real short leader, that stretch is going to be different than if it were something that was, if you're using like straight mono or something like that. And I mean, obviously fluoro has more stretch or less stretch than mono, but more stretch for sure than braid. But if you're throwing braid on a presentation, having a rod that'll give a little bit more. If you're throwing, like, a good example I'll use is like my top water rod. My top water rod, if I'm throwing like a spook or a floating jerkbait or something, and I'm working that rod, like I'm throwing that with mono specifically so that there's a little bit more give to it. I'm not ripping hooks out of a fish's face and potentially losing that fish.
Who uses mono?
On my top water, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just repeating, Dan.
Oh yeah. Who uses mono? Oh yeah. I use mono, but only on a couple of specific combos. So yeah, I think there's
Top
a lot to
water,
be
I'm
said.
braid to mono, so I feel you there.
I use because I've got two top water rods that I use. I've got one that's primarily like it doubles as my jerkbait rod. But here's the thing with my jerkbait: when I'm throwing a suspending jerkbait, I change the reel. It's got it, so I'm throwing it with fluoro versus mono.
That's smart.
Yeah. So I've got a different reel that I'll swap out, and again, that comes from fishing in a kayak. Like I'm only going to be able to bring 9 rods if I'm rigged to the gills. You know what I mean? And I only own like 7, 6 temporarily right now. But so that's just how it is for me. What's the typical, like, how do you arrange your rods, Josh? Is it by technique?
I'd say mostly overall. I mean, I have rods that definitely don't do anything else. Like I have a popper specific rod, which is like a graphite that's also a glass tip, but I just fish that on braid to a mono leader. And that's the only thing that rod and reel does is either throwing a popper for me or throwing like an old school rogue fashion, like on laydowns. But a lot of my like moving bait stuff, other than that, it's actually kind of a blend. And I think that's where you get into I know how that rod reacts because I've caught so many fish on that. So it's like I might have a rod that I can crank and spinner bait or do a lot of the reaction baits on with the same reel and setup. And no matter, I'm still changing baits. It's just me knowing how that rod reacts a lot of times. Like I think that once I really get dialed in with a reaction bait rod, it's just kind of like I just love it and just go with it.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense, and you're right because there's no standard for the rods. One company's fast or one company's moderate is going to be a little bit different than another brand, and it's it makes it challenging. So you got to know your rod.
I think the technique specific stuff ended up like almost festering in more than the companies would say they'd wanted to be. I think on the front end it was to educate the angler because not everyone knew what they were looking for a technique. But now in the age of information, like it's pretty easy to figure out in 30 seconds online what you're looking for. So I think it's really transcended from, educating the angler to now it's an oversale where I think this is probably the first year upcoming where you're literally going to see a lot of major companies shying away from technique specific because now it's more of a competition than just selling a specific rod. So I think we're probably going to see that dissipate in the next couple of years. And I'll say that just on my own faith and knowing from talking to some builders that I think it's kind of going to go that way.
That I would love to see that go that way because I think it does get kind of like tied into this. Like people make this snap judgment. They're like, oh well, it's a technique specific rod. I have to have this, and it's like, well, just look at the characteristics. Like, I'll talk about like what my arsenal looks like, and it's weird. I like to think of my arsenal of rods as a spectrum, right? And I'm going to talk about it before I replaced that rod that was missing. I'm going to talk about that with that in there. So I have a heavy a 7.6 a Phoenix 7.6 rod that's it's heavy and fast. That I use for frogging. I use it for buzz baits. I use that same combo with that same reel if I'm like punching like heavy grass and I want that braid to cut. I'll use a lot of that shit there. And I like it because that has a little bit longer I didn't even put a thumbs up in there. Why is it showing up? I like that because it gives me, it's a little bit longer of a rod. So that tip allows it, while it's still a heavy rod, it's still a broomstick. There's a little bit more play in there so that if I'm throwing something with, treble hooks by chance on there, it's not like I'm throwing like a 7-foot heavy rod, with a fast tip. So I like that. Then we'll go a step down, and then I've got my medium heavy, right? That's like my jig and worm rod. So right now I'm using a 7-1 medium heavy St. Croix Bass X, and it's actually, I went from, that used to be like my workhorse rod. Like I threw so much stuff on it. I had a 7-foot medium heavy fast arc rod that I was using. That was great. I broke one of the guides on it, and I decided I was just going to replace it. And I'm going to repair that other rod and throw that in the mix as well. But that was a great like bank rod, like just run and gun. I could do all kinds of stuff. This 7-1 is just, it just holds up so well. But again, the same thing, like it's sensitive, but I'm throwing jigs and worms, and that's what I want there. I'm throwing for the most part, all single hook baits on there. And that's the one where if I'm going to, as what Andrew Hayes says, if I'm going to
give them the beans,
that's the rod that I'm going to be doing it with. Then
we go down to my is like your length. Sorry, go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think length is it's all it's an equation, and they're all variables. And I think length plays a role in there too. Maybe not as much as action, but it does play a role in like how tippy or how much play you have in that tip. So my moving bait combo that I was using before was a 7'2" medium action fast. And this was actually a rod that Joe had recommended to me. And I was looking for something for like lipless. And I was like, that was a big one, like lipless and maybe even like square bills and moving baits, chatter baits, things like that. That was really what it was. And this was a little bit longer of a rod, 7.2, so it was great for casting. That was one of the things that also helped. With it being a lower power, that medium, that means that it takes less force for that rod to bend. And with a little bit longer of a rod, there's a little bit more bend happening at the tip. So I didn't lose a whole lot of fish there. I probably, and this is where I'm replacing it with something that is longer and moderate fast action, but it's medium heavy, So I feel like in there, it's probably going to be pretty good on that moving bait presentation. I had an SLX 150 7-speed. I actually decided to get a 6 to just allow for more slow rolling of some of these spinner baits and shit like that I like to throw. And then we start to get into more finesse stuff. So my next one would be a 7-foot medium spinning combo, 7-foot medium extra fast. This is what I'm throwing like weightless plastics on. I'm throwing finesse jigs. I'm throwing Neds. I'm throwing, what else do I throw on there? Sometimes I'll throw like a jerkbait on that rod too. Every once in a while. I do have my top water rod is a 6'9" FX medium fast. And it's great. It's got a short butt section. So like when I'm sitting in the kayak, I can work a jerkbait or I can walk a spook real easy and it doesn't get hung up in my elbow. I love that rod for that. It's great. And I change the reel out a lot on that. Depending on what I do. Like I've got a reel that I have spooled with fluoro that I'll swap for like a jerkbait. But I'll throw, like a 6-speed reel on there for like a plopper, something like that, like a prop bait. Again, next finesse is my drop shot rig. This is a 7.3 medium light. I throw a lot of stuff on here, but for the most part, I try to leave it rigged with a drop shot. Like if I'm fishing super finesse swim baits or blade baits, I like to throw it on that as well. But for the most part, it's got a drop shot tied on. Like 95 out of 100 days, it'll have a drop shot tied on. And then the last rod in that combo, as far as like the bass fishing stuff and the not super niche-y shit, is my BFS combo. It's the lightest rod that I've got. It's a 6'5" light Shimano Majestic XT, and I've got it's got a crazy fast tip, but at that power, it takes nothing to move. So it's tons of sensitivity for like small jigs and stuff, but also enough give if I'm throwing like a micro jerk bait or a crank or something like that. There's plenty of give right there. It's pretty badass. And then like I've got a couple other ones in there. Like I've got a 7-foot medium heavy spinning combo that I just kind of have on hand. And usually like when I'm fishing with somebody and they need a rod and it's like something for a single hook bait, like a finesse jig or something, I give them that. So they again can
Give them the beans.
and then there's other spinning combos that I've got floating around for the same reason. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to fish with somebody and they need a rod. There we go. I'm fishing with my kids, something like that. I've got a rod ready to go for them. I'm not even gonna get into the carp shit. That's just fucking, it's too much. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, so I'm glad you guys talked about the technique specific rods, because that was the first thing I was going to say is, so many of these manufacturers are doing that now, but everybody fishes different. Everybody's hook set's different. Everyone has a different like personality when it comes to fishing. And, that technique specific stuff is like, it's a cool like starting point, I guess, but it's more of like a marketing gimmick, I think. Because like for me, for instance, I swing for the fences on my hook sets. Just what I do. Always been that way. So some of these techniques specific rods just don't work for me. But so mostly I like rods that are 90% of my rods are 7 feet or above. That's just what I like. It's my personal favorites. It's what works for me, and that's the biggest thing is like get to know what works for you for each technique that you fish, because what Bobby uses, what Josh uses, Josh and Bobby might not have the same, not feel the same about what works better for them, and vice versa for me. So the one rod that I do keep under 7 feet is typically my jerk bait rods. I typically keep those because it's a little easier on the wrist. And especially for those like when it comes to like fast versus moderate and stuff like that. So a lot of my trouble, I have like two or three different types of hook sets I use, I guess you could say, is like, with those, the crank baits, the jerk baits and stuff, like it's see, so it's like that sweeping motion versus that like swing for the fences hook set. I also use mono for my jerk bait rods, just let Dan know there. I do use mono for that. But so like for me it all depends. It's just comfortability. I mean, I can't sit here and list all my rods because I have so many of them, but I am very technique specific. What works best for me for a technique, I have that, like, that rod will only keep that technique on it throughout the year, essentially.
Yeah.
My jerkbait rod only has jerk baits on. My crankbait rod, the rod I like best for shaky heads, that's only going to hold a shaky head all year. It's not financially sound, I will say that, but
but you make a good point.
Yeah, but where I had to adjust that a little bit is when I was up on St. Lawrence with these guys, because I didn't have my boat, so I was confined to a certain amount of rods. I was only bringing like 4 rods with me, which were mostly spinning rods because we were doing so much finesse fishing. But for my spinning rods, most of my spinning rods are like right at 7 feet. My drop shot rod is, I think, a 7.1 or 7.2. That's a little bit longer, medium light. That's my one, like, medium light. All my other spinning rods are mediums. But so the biggest thing to take from this is if you're setting up, if you want a rod for a technique, you have to discover what what hook set what type of hook set you use, what is most comfortable for you. Just because this brand sells like this is a crankbait rod, it might not be for you. It might not be the most comfortable for you. So do your research. Don't fall into the, I don't want to say trap of like all the technique specific shit, but it may work. All that technique specific shit might work for you, but it's not typical. But yeah, that's really all
I think that's an interesting point too. And one thing that I never really put together, but like, so, as tournament anglers, guys, you guys are trying to eliminate downtime, and it's all about time management. So retying is a huge waste of time, for you guys, you have a limited time to fish. Like the idea of like, oh, I'm going to go and retie this leader for such and such specific, like it just makes more sense to have more rods. I think you're going to see tournament anglers have a larger arsenal of rods with maybe some things that double up, so that way they can have their preferred presentations ready to go and be that much easier. So
that is actually something I and I'm sure Josh is the same way. When like for tournaments, I know the 3, 4, 5 tops baits I'm going to be throwing that day. You know what I mean? So typically I have at least 2 rods set up for each one of those baits or those techniques. For just what you said, Bobby. If something happens, if I know there's a jig bite and something happens and I lose that jig, like, okay, when I have a little bit of downtime, I will retie. But right now I don't have that downtime, so I'm going to grab this other one. Yeah, and I'm going to keep going. But
and if you're on a specific bite, you'll run like. If I'm on a swim jig only bite, I'll have like 7 swim jigs tied on.
Yeah.
Because if you break off or anything matters, I usually run like 30 combos in the tournament.
Yeah.
And I will say this too, like, especially for like, I can remember if I go back and I think to when I first got, reintroduced to fishing and was interested in it. And I was looking for rods, like the action and power ratings and the length, it was just like mind boggling because I couldn't find a good reference of like, so what do I actually need? And I always would get a question back, like, so what are you fishing for? And of course, like at that time I was like,
I'm fishing for anything that bites, man.
So it's like, what is it that you're looking for? And I think that's where maybe, I don't know if maybe the industry kind of fell into this thinking like, well, let's use the technique specific stuff so that if people know at least what presentations they want, this will lend itself toward that. Right. But I think that it's only experience it's going to tell you, like, these are the qualities in this rod that will work for this laundry list of stuff. Or even more importantly is this is what type of angler I am. And I find that this works better for me and it might not fit that mold,
Sure. I mean, it's, if you're trying to figure out what rod works best for especially for a specific technique, I mean, the most common, let's just talk bait caster. The most common casting setup out there is probably like a 7-foot fucking medium heavy, moderate fast. Like whatever technique you're trying to get specific, start with that and think about like, okay, what do I want different? What is this rod doing when I set the hook or I do this or I do that I want differently? And that's your, you go from there.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And, there's a million folks. I think we've even actually done something previously about like, what are the top 3 or top 5 rods that a bank angler should be carrying with them? Or I think it was like, we did like, what are the top 3 rods that a bank angler should carry with them? And it's like, you can factor some specific stuff in there if you're like, oh yeah, maybe it would be a good idea to carry a drop shot rod, not a drop shot rod, a jerkbait rod, if you're fishing from, the bank and you've only got clearance, something like that. Like you got to take a lot of this shit into consideration, but
100%.
Yeah. That's, that might be something that we should do maybe for like the holidays. Would you talk about a rod gift guide, something like that? Specifically like the the real, like, and maybe even something about getting new anglers into it, like rods you should have on hand and presentations for if you're like, hey Billy, you want to go fish? You ever do this shit before? Or you have a family member that's like, hey, take me fishing. Like what would you set them up with?
Sure.
That's not a terrible idea. I fucking like that idea.
Let's do it.
That's pretty badass. That's pretty badass. I did forget one of the rods in my freaking what do you call it? In my Spectrum.
What's that?
My big swim bait combo.
Oh yeah. Actually, I have one of those too, and I just never use it.
Yeah. I got a 7, I think it's a 711. It's a Cashin Icon extra heavy, moderate, and it is a beast. Oh my god. And I'm weird, man. I like to throw the big heavy wakes primarily.
Yep.
So I actually run mine a little bit different than some other folks would. I throw my wakes with 20-pound mono, and I throw it on an 8-speed reel so that I can burn it and get it subsurface, or I can have that fast reel to articulate and get more like louder clacks or something. I've fooled around with like using that setup with like glide baits and shit like that, but I haven't even begun to dip my toe into that world yet,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Tim, you too? Tim Behan says one of my rods fell in the water yesterday. Yeah, I did too. It cost me $250.
Yep. Independence Day.
Yeah, it happens.
Damn it.
Been there, done that.
What can you do? What the hell can you do? Guys, we're going to be wrapping this show up in just a minute. I do want to go and say that we have to actually wrap up recording shortly, because in about half an hour or so, I'm going to be recording with Matt and Brad from the Catch podcast, which is, I don't know if they're going to drop on the same day, because we usually drop a late Monday night and they usually drop on Monday or Tuesday.
Yep.
I don't know if they have a turnaround where it'll be out there, but I'll let you guys know when the episode comes out. One of the things I want to throw out there to all of our listeners, if you guys have any questions regarding, your gear or anything like that, and you want like advice from the peanut gallery here, shoot us a message, give it actually even better, call us on the hotline, call us on the Jigs and Bigs hotline, and we'll get you your information and we'll tell you all about what we think you guys should be doing. The number for the hotline is 413-324-8519. Call the hotline if you guys have any questions or anything like that, and we'll figure it out. Let's go ahead and wrap this sucker up, guys. Yeah.
That's right.
Fucking A. I do love these shows. They're a little bit more compact, and we sort of have a little bit. We get right to it. Don't get me wrong. I have some interviews lined up that you guys are going to love. Some of these recording sessions have been scheduled like in the next 3 to 4 weeks in advance. So I want to wait till we get them recorded before I mention them. But just you guys, we have some great stuff coming up. If you would care to suggest a guest to be on Jigs and Bigs, by all means, you can call the hotline and make a suggestion there. You can email us jigsandbigs413@gmail.com, or shoot us a DM on your preferred social media network. We're on pretty much all of them. So go ahead and shoot us a message. In fact, with the boat, I want to start recording some interviews on the boat with while fishing. Like that's in the works as well. So we can go ahead and make that shit happen. What is this? California company found through Cast and Crank podcast. Oh yeah.
Oh, iRod. Yeah, I've heard
that popper rod I was talking about. That's exactly what it is. It's an iRod. Yep. It's a square bill special. That's my popper rod from iRod.
No shit. Yeah, I love Cast and Crank, by the way.
The square bill and Rip Rap special are nasty glass bend rods. They nailed those blanks for sure.
Huh. That's pretty badass. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Smelling.
Benny goes, gotcha. Yeah, I'm with FX, so I'm slowly phasing out my gear. What is going on there? My voice just did something crazy, and it sounded in my headphones like it was
The effect.
And no, it wasn't. That's weird. My kid spiked this beer. What the fuck's going on?
I'm not an so Ben, I'm not an FX fan. I'm
No?
not an FX. I will admit it. I'm not. Haven't been. Won't be.
Yep.
I'm just not an FX fan. But that's just me.
Boat interviews for
I'm
sure.
I'm an NRX guy.
I like
I
NRX.
I have my top water rod is an FX rod, and so far I love it. But I mean, I don't think I've picked up a rod that I've had like any real beef with, other than like when I first started fishing and I was fishing like the Abu Garcia Vengeance stuff. I didn't know how sensitive a rod could be. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like with that kind of stuff. So then, you know, and I'm also trying to do this on a budget as much as I can.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly. I use that word loosely. Budget.
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. Well, guys, we're going to wrap this sucker up. We will see you guys in 7 days of more Jigs and Bigs goodness. Josh, you got anything you want to mention? You got any big tournaments coming up? Anything we can look forward to for news?
I got confirmed for the regional national qualifier for like the Bass Nation deal, whatever they call it now, in Champlain in July. So I signed up the very last day, made it in. That's about it. I'm just focused on that right now. I go off limits for that. I'm like the 6th, I think.
Yep.
And my plan from then to there is like not get involved with any tournaments, but just really fish a lot and keep the rust off. And I want to win that fucking thing. I don't want to like just make nationals. I want to win it.
You want to go for it? Fucking A, dude.
Yeah.
Well, good luck,
I'm
man.
gonna swing
Nice.
big. Swing big.
Hell yeah, you got to, man. It's all you can do. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's
Yeah,
all you can do.
I'm tired of like 12th place finishes, 8th place finishes. I want number one.
Oh, I hear you. So, Joe, what about with you as far as the boat? What do you think the timeline looks like where there's going to be some big announcements?
Within the next 2 weeks. Within the next 2
In
weeks.
the next 2 weeks, you guys heard it here first.
Yeah, it
Next 2
should
weeks.
be the timing should be there. But yeah, I'm excited. We'll see what happens.
I got to get you guys out on the Lund, and
Yeah, there you
go.
we'll go and send it. You know, maybe that's what we should do. We should plan a day where we. You know what? Fuck it. Would you guys be down to maybe just do a friendly little like dollar bet style competition?
Absolutely.
The three of us, and we each take a jig head as a co-angler.
That's actually a great idea. It's
that.
that's going to be within the vicinity of probably us anyways, right? It's not like we're going to Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I think it'd be freaking awesome, man. It'd be a good time. We each have one of the jig heads as our co-angler.
Hell yeah.
You know, that could be
I think
pretty badass.
2 weekends from now, 3 weekends from now, I can do that.
Yeah, I love it.
One of those 2 weekends, I can do it.
We'll put something
definitely-
loose
we'll
on the
figure something
calendar and we'll make it happen. That'll be great. This will be great because Joe will have an opportunity to be a nice way to stretch the legs in the new boat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At this point, I probably will have only had to replace my 4th or 5th prop, you know, and I will do. I can only imagine what blast off is going to look like. You guys are going to be like, whoa, and I'm going to be like,
one thing I do want to plug, Bobby.
Plug away.
I do want to plug the Rubble on the River by Fish or Die. The tournament coming up. The tournament coming up on St. Lawrence River, October 19th. Rumble on the River is a team tournament, $250 entry, guaranteed $5,000 for first place. I will be there. I know Josh is going to be there.
We can raffle off my co-angler spot. Do an event. Do an event, and the winner can be my co-angler. I'm already signed up. No co-angler.
Todd,
that's awesome.
If you can make it to Massachusetts for the weekend when we do this, 100%, that's what we need to do.
There you go.
We'll go to Barton's.
Oh, yes.
We'll do better.
I'm okay with Barton's.
I've never fished there, so I'm throwing shit out there.
I figured out how to get all the way up to the dam, dude. Last year we had our 2-day there.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
mud's
that's right.
flinging 40 feet into the air. He's like, "You
Dude.
coming up this way?" I'm like, "Nah, dude. This is as far as I
Nah.
go."
I'd love it. Yeah, Todd and I will go, and then you guys will be like, "Oh, we caught so many fish," and then you'll just be like, "Is that Bobby's boat?" And it's just kind of like drifting. Todd and I are just passed out, stoned off our asses.
You know the thing about Barton's is everyone does the run,
Fish
but
whistle.
you catch the biggest fish right there in the cove if you can figure
Right
out
there.
the largemouth. Yep.
Yeah.
Got Rod
Yeah,
Cove,
it's true.
Barton's Cove.
Yep.
Freaking nuts, dudes. Nuts. All right. Thank you guys for an amazing show and hanging out. Thanks to all of our jig heads, of course. If you'd like to become a jig head, visit jigsandbigs.com. We have a button right there. It says join our Patreon. If you're following us on Instagram, the link in our bio, like all that great stuff is all right there. The July scavenger hunt registration is open. It will be open until the 8th of July. So go ahead and get involved on that scavenger hunt, folks. August will be dropping very, very soon. We're going to drop August, September, and the final one, October, probably in the next week. You'll be able to see that. So that's going to be coming up. Stay tuned on Fishing Chaos for all the tournament stuff. I've got so much good stuff lined up for you guys you don't even know. We'll see you guys in 7 days with more Jigs and Bigs goodness. It's always a great time to be on this show. We will see you guys with more after this. Thank you to our listeners and to everybody watching, all of our jig heads watching live. We appreciate you. Don't forget, like we always say,
Tits and ass, smoke some grass.
you're goddamn right.
Sick. right, boys.
Goddamn right. Beautiful.
Go and eat some food.
Me too.
Oh,
I'm going to go choke down a hoagie, as Zek would say.
Hell yeah.
And
I'm
then
gonna go drink like 17 alcohols because I have to work tomorrow.
Sick.
I love it. Beautiful, boys.
All right, later,
You
boys.
guys have a good one. We'll see you.
Yeah.
Later,
I
boys.
zoomed in. I don't know why I did that. I'm a mess. We'll see you guys.